وقال الله تعالى في مقام آخر إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم सभी हज़रात बावज़ बुलंद नबी पाक अलैहिस्सलाम पर दुरूद शरीफ का नजराना पेश किए। जुमे का दिन है, जुमे आप जुम का दुरूद शरीफ पढ़िए। अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या सय्यदी या रसूलल्लाह व अला आलिका व अस्हाबिका या सय्यदी या हबीबल्लाह। अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या सय्यदी या रसूलल्लाह व अला बावज़ बुलंद अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या सय्यदी या रसूलल्लाह व अला आलिका व अस्हाबिका या सय्यदी या हबीबल्लाह। So we enter into the blessed month of Rabi'ul Awwal. This is that month in which the best of creation, the Imam of all of the prophets, our master Sayyiduna Muhammad Rasulullah was brought to this world. Now when we talk about the birth of the Prophet, this refers to his appearance, his birth in this world. But we know, according to the teachings of the Prophet and from the Quran, that the Prophet's creation was before this. So when we talk about his milad, it's different to his creation. Because the nur of the Prophet ﷺ, the light of the Prophet, before it took on bodily, physical form, was already in existence and created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the nur of the Prophet ﷺ, and also referred to as the ruh. Because when you hear the word ruh, and sometimes you hear the word nur, you might get confused and mixed up. But they both refer to the same thing. And that's the Nuraniya, the Nur of the Prophet ﷺ. That's why often in the month of Milad we talk about Nur, say, why you talk about Nur? Because قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ نُورٌ وَكِتَابٌ مُبِينٌ. The two things that have come to us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the kitab. Before the kitab was mentioned, the Nur. And according to all of the scholars of Islam, قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ نُورٌ, that Nur refers to the Prophet ﷺ. I ask anybody to look at any tafsir. Tafsir is the name we give to explanation, commentary of the Quran, what we call exegesis. In any exegesis you will see the word Nur here, verily has come to you, Ja'akum, has come to you, Nur, a light, and the Kitab Mubin, and an enlightened book, open book, a manifestly clear book. Some people might say, oh, the Lahu Nuri in one tradition. The first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created was my nur, my light. If somebody objects to this tradition, objects to it, then how will they object to the other traditions which say, Kuntu Nabiyyan, I was a messenger. Wa Adamu Baynan Ma'i wa Deen wa Bayna Ruhi wal Jasad, different traditions. Before Adam a.s. was between water and mud, or water and clay, even then I was a messenger. The Prophet ﷺ said, even then. And this wow is different to the wow I mentioned before, for those interested in Arabic grammar. This is what we call wow of the hal. It describes a state. Wa kuntu, and I was in that state that I was a messenger, in the status of a messenger. Wa Adamu bayna al-ma'i wa teen. Just different traditions on this about the Prophet. So when we talk about the Milad, we're talking about when he arrived into this world. And in the English calendar, let's say the Western calendar, we call this the Gregorian calendar, the Western calendar, that was the year 570 after Isa a.s. 570. And the month was Rabiul Awwal, and according to the majority of the scholars, it was the 12th of Rabiul Awwal. Although there is some variation of this, but according to most scholars, it was Rabiul Awwal. And we know the time of the day was between when the night was finishing and the day was beginning. And the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose this particular time of the day is not that the Prophet would get the blessing, but that the night and the day would both receive the blessings of the birth of the Prophet ﷺ. Between these two times, around the time of Fajr. And that's also an interesting point on the Noor, because the Prophet was Noor, and the Noor in the Sama, in the sky, was also appearing at that time, because it was that time of day. Now some people, due to a lack of understanding, I would say, ask the question, why do we celebrate the birthday of the Prophet ﷺ? Is that something from Islam or not? You see this question, people ask them, why should we celebrate the birthday of the Prophet? Is this part of religion? Is it something we have to do? Is it necessary? And some even go to the extent of saying it's wrong to do this celebration. Sometimes you might have people say there are only two Eids in the year. Eid al-Fitr, the one that we end with Ramadan, and Eid al-Adha, the Eid of sacrifice, which marks the sacrifice of Ibrahim alayhi salam of his son. So there are only two Eids. Why is there this celebration? The first point to understand here is that yes, there are two Eids which are wajib in the sense of there is a salah attached to them, and those two Eids are wajib. Absolutely. When we refer to the Prophet's birth as an Eid, it's in a different meaning. It doesn't mean there is a specific prayer attached to it. We don't do this. We don't gather in the masjid and say there is an Eid Salah on the 12th of Rabiul. Nobody does this. And often people have misunderstandings, misconceptions about what Milad Sharif is. We know that when the Ma'idah was sent down, as it mentions in the Quran, to the followers of Isa alayhi salam, that was referred to as an Eid as well. And Eid does not mean something that has to have a salah attached to it. Secondly, our basis for celebrating the life of the Prophet ﷺ, to be happy, to marking it, to making an event out of it, is from the Quran. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet, قُلْ say, بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ, regarding the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Regarding the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what should you do? And also the fadl and the rahmah. بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ, and His mercy. What should you do? فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. What should you do regarding that? You should be happy. Celebrate. Farh. Farha or farh in Arabic means to express happiness, to be joyous. And we ask the simple question, is there a greater happiness than the birth and coming of the Prophet ﷺ? This is a simple question. Is there a greater happiness than the happiness of the Prophet ﷺ? In the Quran we know the Prophet ﷺ has been referred to as Fadl Azim. In the Quran, the Prophet ﷺ is also Rahmatun lil Alameen. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. So he's also the Rahmatun lil Alameen. So, when you do tafsir al-Quran bil Quran, the best tafsir of the Quran, explanation of the Quran, is that from the Quran itself. Highest status of tafsir. If you want to know what a particular verse means in the Quran, before you look at any of the source, any other interpretation, any scholar, You see, does the Quran itself explain what that means? This is called Tafsir al-Quran bil-Quran. The commentary or explanation of the Quran in the Quran itself. You can even call this intertextuality. When the same source explains itself. You can use this in other literary studies as well, where it applies to the Quran. And that scholars say Tafsir al-Quran bil-Quran is the highest. Then Tafsir al-Quran bil-Hadith is the second stage. And then you have the explanation of the scholars, which comes after these two. And in the Quran itself, it says the Prophet is a Fadl and the Prophet is the Rahmah, the greatest. And that's what we are celebrating. That's what we are remembering. So when you say, is something an innovation? Some people say, is this an innovation? What do we mean by this idea of innovation? Bid'ah. And when you say bid'at, Arabic bid'ah. We pronounce the ta marbut at the end in many words in Urdu, and in Arabic they don't. Urdu, Farsi, Turkish, we pronounce the ta at the end often. That's why difference in pronunciation, same meaning. The difficulty that you have nowadays is that people had understood Islam for 1400 years. There was an understanding of Islam by the great ulama, by the scholars of the early part of Islam, all the way till today. What you had, unfortunately, in the last 100 years or so, 100 to 200 years, when we saw what we call the period of modernization. Okay, modernization happened across the world. Some of that was due to colonization, when the Muslim world was colonized, politically influenced by the Western world and by Christianity. And Christianity before that, in this period when what we call the Enlightenment, have you heard of the Enlightenment? People must have heard of it. They call it Dawlat al-Tanwir in Arabic, Enlightenment. And when you had the Enlightenment period in the West and in Christianity, they started to rethink many things about their religion, changing many things that they had learned. These influences began to affect the Muslim world and changing people's thinking from what came before, to the point they felt that people before us did not understand properly, but now we understand what is the correct way of doing things, the correct way of thinking. And one aspect of that, not all aspects of that, one aspect of that was to question religious understanding regarding many practices of the Muslims, such as the birth of the Prophet. And they had another understanding. They said, no, what people have been doing in the previous centuries was all wrong. We have now been enlightened and understand that they were all wrong, and we are going to tell you a new understanding by going back to the Quran and the Hadith and doing a very literal, personal interpretation of what that is, ignoring how Muslims for centuries had explained the Quran and the Sunnah. This is where the problem happened. We can easily refute those ideas, but let's try to get to the crux of the issue. Why did this happen? People don't explain why it happened. This is why it happened. Historically, you have to track the issue and trace what is the underlying problem here, and this is where it happened. And it was not only regarding Iraq or regarding innovation. So they had a different understanding of innovation and said, if something did not happen in its exact form as we know it, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, that means it's haram. This is an incorrect understanding. False understanding. Because this is never how Muslims have practiced, ever, and how any society practices. When we establish issues, points in our deen, we look at a basis. Do you have a basis for this? Do you have a proof for this? And what is the proof? The same people will say to you, oh, you should follow Quran and Sunnah only. We can talk about that another time, this claim. But let's just take that claim on face value, Quran and Sunnah only. I have now just quoted you a verse from the Quran which gives you the basis, provides the basis, orders you in fact to be happy and joyous at the coming of the Prophet ﷺ, through whom which we were all guided, through whom which we all received the Quran. Who did you receive the Quran through? Did Jibreel alayhi salam give a direct to everyone of you? No, he didn't. Through the Prophet alayhi salam. And we know that our guidance is two things, as we mentioned, the Quran and the Messenger alayhi salam. And the Quran was received by us through him. You cannot take the Prophet alayhi salam out of the equation, otherwise there is no deen. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. That's what we are doing now. It's the Muhammadur Rasulullah aspect. So we have already established now that the Prophet, that in the Quran, the basis for doing the Mawlid is clear. If someone says to you the opposite, is that they have ignored 1400 years of Islamic understanding by the ulama, and they have come up with a new idea, a new way of thinking, which was influenced by foreign ideas, which came out of what they call the enlightenment of the West, where they started to challenge many practices of Christianity, many things in society. They thought, you know what, the people before us did not know? It's a kind of arrogance. Now we are enlightened, which means people before us were in a kind of darkness. And this is what we oppose, because we say the opposite. That the scholars that came before, from the most earliest generations till today, they were more enlightened than we are. The closer they were to the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the more enlightened they were, not the less. So if somebody comes to you today and has a different understanding and say, oh, this is the meaning of innovation, this is not the meaning of innovation. If somebody tells you something is haram, you might have that in these days because it's the time of Ramadan. Your first duty, you don't think it's got to say this, is to ask them, where is your proof to say that something is haram? Because you do not have the authority to say something is prohibited, only Allah and His Messenger. And I'll give you a maxim. The maxim is Al-Aslu fil Ashya al-Ibaha. The default state in everything is permissibility. This is Islam. حتى يدل الدليل على التحريم. Until you have a proof to say something is haram, not the other way around. Not the other way around. Everything in Islam is permissible. You want to ask me, is it permissible for me to wear this black waistcoat? You have to bring the proof that this is haram. I don't have, the burden of proof is not to me to establish why I can wear this. The burden of proof is upon you to say something is haram, because you do not have that authority. Only Allah and His Messenger can make something haram. It doesn't give people this arrogance. What we see today, the arrogance of saying these people are doing haram, they are doing shirk, they are doing bid'ah. And it's a new understanding of bid'ah, because what is the true understanding of innovation? Is something which contradicts the sunnah. There is an established sunnah. If someone tries to contradict it or replace it, this is what is introducing something new into the deen, because you have contradicted or tried to replace the established sunnah of the Prophet. This is haram, of course. And this is the understanding of bid'ah from the Sahaba and the Salaf. So what are we doing in these days? We are marking the creation, not the creation only, the creation is came before the birth. The birth, the coming into this world, and the hidayah which the Prophet ﷺ gave us, the birth of the best of creation, and through whom we receive the guidance of the Quran. That's what Rabbul is. And I will give one proof just before finishing. The Prophet ﷺ, to show you that not only is it something that's permissible and established through the Quran, but the Prophet ﷺ was to fast every Monday and Thursday as an additional fast. Not a obligatory fast, but that's what he would do. He was asked about this, about the Monday fast and the Thursday fast. And regarding the Monday fast, what did he say? فِيهِ وُلِدْتُ وَأُنزِلَ إِلَيَّ. I fast every Monday because I was born on this day, and I received the revelation on the Monday. Subhanallah. Every Monday the Prophet ﷺ fasted, and the reason was because he was born. So you cannot say that the birthday of the Prophet ﷺ has no religious significance, because he marked it by an act of ibadah. And that's what we know the Milah says as well. We recite the Quran, we recite praise of the Prophet, all from the Sunnah, and we talk about his seerah, which all of the other people would not object to. One person once said to me in a discussion and said, well, that was every Monday, but you do it once a year. I said, fine, you do milad every week and I will join you, no problem. If you think we are doing less milad, you do more milad, no problem. Do it every week. And in fact, some Arabs countries, you'll see they do it every week. So the ulama in the Arab world, every week they will do the milad on this basis. And we should attempt to do that ourselves. And if you attempt to ask them, what about all of these other events that you have in your masjid? Even last night I was having a discussion with somebody. So, you do an event which is marking the day of Badr, you do an event which is talking about the life of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. None of these were in the time of the Prophet. None of them. But that's not the reason why we say something is outward. If the principle is established in Islam, it's allowed. And this is like an expression of our love of the Prophet Islam. And we know that our love of the Prophet Islam, our iman is conditioned on the fact that we love the Prophet Islam more than our parents, more than our children, more than our wealth, and more than our personal belongings. And the second aspect of milad is to get closer to the teachings of the Prophet Islam and to act upon them. There is nothing but goodness in this event. If there's anything wrong in the event, then that action itself is wrong, but not the milad. Because that, as we said, is established in our sources. It's an expression of our love of the Prophet Islam, and it's a way of teaching everybody more about the Sunnah of the Prophet Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us all the tawfiq to increase our mahabbah and love for the Prophet Islam and follow his Sunnah in every aspect. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَى الْبَلَاغِ.
Allah أشهد